Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad that you're joining us for this workshop this evening. On these hot summer days, I'm so grateful that Mercantile Bank is one of the sponsors of tonight's workshop. Tonight, we're going to be doing part two of our wood window repair class. I'm so glad that Sam and PJ are back here with us. If you're tuning in for the first time, we welcome you to ask questions. We will reply to them as we see them online. If you're tuning in after the live broadcast, we still want to hear from you. It just may take us a little longer to respond. Community Homeworks is a nonprofit organization with a mission to empower our neighbors to sustain safe, sustainable, and dignified homes. We get our fundings from grants, gifts, and donations, and sponsorships. So if you find value in tonight's program, we ask that you please make a donation on our website at communityhomeworks.org. We are so excited to have PJ and Sam back for the second time. We look forward to learning more about wood windows, and I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. All right. So welcome back for episode 2. I'm sure everybody's watched all the way through episode 1. And just a brief overview. Last time we learned about the different parts of the windows and how to remove the window sash out of the frame. And now we're going to work on repairing the glass, or what's called the sash unit, and the glass that we took out, what we showed you how to take out last time. Okay. And so what we're looking at here is the sash. You've got a single pane of glass in here. And this is the interior one. You can tell by the handle, but you can also tell by how the putty that's holding the glass in place is on the outside of the window. And that putty is sometimes called glazing, glazer's putty. And basically what it is an oil and resins. I'm not sure what the putty used to be made out of linseed oil and chalk dust back in the day. Now you can buy it at either online or through local hardware stores, and it's called glazing putty. And so
the most common one that you'll see at the local hardware store is called DAP 33, which doesn't work quite as well as what we've got here, but it is acceptable, and it's common. Yeah, here's
right. So that you'll find everywhere. We've got a putty that was special ordered, and you can find online. It's called by Sarco. What's nice about this is it lasts longer, and it's usually a little easier to work with. So,
what about the stuff that comes in the tube? Does that work?
I imagine it would work in a pinch, but I would think that it would dry up faster. It's not going to last as long. So,
and I think you do see some people just using regular caulk to try to repair a window that's where the glass is getting loose and rattling a bit, and that's not a great long-term solution either. I mean, it might work for a little while, but not ideal. And then it's kind of a mess to clean that back up later.
Right.
We've seen some of that on the windows that we're working with here.
Right. It's definitely not something that's going to be a long-term fix. So the first thing you want to do is, after you've removed the glass, or I'm sorry, remove the sash. I get confused.
So the sash is this whole unit right here. So the 4 wooden pieces and the glass inside of them.
Right.
And if you have what do they call with lights in it? So that window over there it's a sash, but it's got 3, would you call them lights?
Yeah.
So those all have their own little putty bedding.
There will be a test on this after we're done. So,
like on a modern vinyl window, you might have multiple lights. It might be divided into 9 pieces or something, but that's usually superficial. It's just like a piece of plastic on the outside. It's not 9 pieces of glass necessarily.
So, and in that, this is 6 lights, right? So
these are all different pieces of glass that can be replaced individually.
Right. So, and you can see this one, I think I did last year. I broke it while I was installing it. It's still here as an example, but to be careful. So we'll go over that. So I'm not sure if you guys can see back there. We're going to do some work up here on on this. But
Are you done with this one?
yeah, so what you can see how this one's, when it lays down, it's rocking. So you'd want to like remove the hardware so that you can have the one, either clean the hardware if that's something you're going to do, but two, also have a flat surface to work on, because we're going to be really kind of pushing on the sash frame here. So
Would it maybe be a good idea to put down like an old blanket or some kind of fabric on your work surface, or not? Does it not matter?
depends, right? Depends on how much one, plastic is good because this is likely full of lead paint or, coats of lead paint. But if you're using a heat gun and you have plastic down, you could potentially start melting your
Good point.
plastic too.
Or fabric?
Right. So putting something down, a drop cloth, or what do they call that? Craft paper, which is like comes in rolls similar to what you would get from. It's a similar material as a paper bag from the grocery store. Just something to put on to collect all your dust. Here, we're just going to go right on to the work on this workbench here. So,
And I'm sure Community Homeworks has good resources on lead, working with lead paint and the hazards and safety
thanks to their
precautions.
sponsors, yes. So you can see the one reason, or we've got a few different windows here. I'm going to just show this one real quick. This is a window that the glazing wasn't bad all the way around. It was only bad in some spots. So you can just repair the glazing. You don't have to do the whole thing, but if it's bad and cracked all the way around, or if the glass is broken, you've got to take the glazing all the way out to get a new piece of glass in there.
You'd get a better
So-
air sealing and everything if you took the whole glass out and bedded it into some new glazing.
Absolutely.
And freshen the whole thing up, but this is acceptable for.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So the glazing is one, you sealing the window so you don't have any air leaks around the glass, but is also allowing you put it on at an angle so when the rain or water hits it, it gives something for the water to be sloped off of the frame there. So, all right. Let's bring that one. So this is kind of a typical what you see, a typical window that's been neglected for a while. No offense.
None taken.
So, and maybe I'll show this to the class. You can see that on the overhead. Okay. So just walk over here real quick. So you can see how the glazing's coming out. It's loose. It's missing in some spots already. I don't know if
This
that
is,
matters.
when a house hasn't been painted in 20 years.
Right. Or even
Uh,
if it has, sometimes this just dries out anyways. So, but this is what we're talking about is the piece, and the glazing just becomes hard after 20 years or so. It's just the nature of it. It's going to dry out eventually.
But it's meant to be repairable and
Yep.
redone. You could even do this with the window in place outside. If you don't want to take your whole window unit apart, you could get up on a ladder and do some of this work, like that little repair that we saw a minute ago. Do that in place. Then you just have to come back in about 2 weeks or something and paint it. And because that glazing, if it's not painted, it will fail
Right.
pretty quickly.
Exactly. So first thing, hardware's off. You can lay it flat. Typically you would take your knife, a razor knife or something that you can get to, and you want to, on the inside, just lightly break the bond where the glass meets the wood frame, because there's typically there's a paint bond in there from the paint or the varnish or whatever's on there. So you're just getting down into the corner, cracking that out, just so once you get the glazing out on the other side, hopefully this side will release. So you want to be careful. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to break the glass in this case. And that's another thing. If you're working with a window that is broken, sometimes it just makes more sense to break the glass out over a trash can or something with some tools, obviously safety glasses, so that you're not going to cut yourself. But it's just something to be aware of. It's easy to make a mistake and gash yourself while you're doing this. So, and then same thing on this side to start with. Well, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, but as I'm just running my knife on here, this glazing's kind of popping out. I hate that noise.
And this would have been the bottom side as gravity flows down over this face here, you think?
Yep.
So that's getting the brunt of the water damage.
So you just scoring all four sides, and we've got, so we're not going to like kind of doing this cooking show style where we've done some of the work on some of these other units. So you're not going to force you to watch us.
Because some of this might take 30 minutes just to do this, to get this busted free of the glazing and the paint and everything. So instead of making, people suffer for that, we'll show some that are already kind of pre-done.
So this is a tool we had at the last workshop where we talked about taking the paint off with, and that this one has the different heat settings. The heat gun, it's a heat gun with a fan. So it has multiple heat settings and multiple fan settings. And reiterate the importance of like not getting this so hot that it starts to smoke off or volatilize the lead that might be in the lead paint, because that's not good for your lungs and not good for your environment. So,
and also don't leave the heat gun pointed at the glass for too long, because you will crack the glass. The glass will expand. And I learned that the hard way, that trying to get, some of the paint off these little detail pieces and had the gun there for a little too long and pop.
learn from our mistakes. Yeah.
You don't want to point the heat gun directly at the glass. Kind of try to angle it toward the caulk or whatever you're working on.
Right.
Paint.
So, right. So we're going to fire this up real quick. And then the thing that the heat gun does is like heating up that putty makes it softer. So it makes it easier to come out. So it'll come out easier that way. This is set like a medium. It's not too bad. It's a nice tool to have. It's not entirely necessary for this. You still can, work it out manually, get popping it loose.
And using a number of tools, you could use little scrapers, you can use chisels, razor knives. You might have to try a bunch of different things to see what will kind of break it free. Sometimes it comes really easily, but sometimes you're really fighting it. So having something with a good sharp blade, like a razor,
This, I don't know if you can see, there's a bevel on that putty knife. Instead of it just being flat coming up, it actually has a slight bevel to it, like a knife blade would have, just on the one side. This is a really good knife for this.
So having a multitude of different tools to try, because each scenario might be different too.
Right. This is what's called a 5-way tool. I like it because it's very stiff. It's also got the beveled edge to it. It's got the little hook, so if you wanted to grind in there, this is also a pretty good tool. This is duller than this one is, and but it's simple enough to, if you take a file to it, to put an edge back on there. So,
and sometimes maybe you don't want a razor sharp tool.
That's
for certain
true.
Things for your glazing knife, I think they recommend for having one that's a bit rounded over, just so that you don't, it's less chance of scratching the glass.
Exactly. So I'm just going to heat this up a little bit.
While you're doing that, we have a question online.
Yeah.
Lynn wants to know, she said, having a spectacular ability to break glass, I'm very interested in how you cut a piece of replacement glass. What tools do you use, or where do you buy the glass, etc.?
Do you want to answer that one?
I have not. I bought a little tool for scoring glass and cutting it, but I have not used that yet. I would probably take it to my local hardware store because they offer that service, and it's pretty inexpensive. Now there are a few different types of replacement glass you can get. There's the thinnest one. What is it? How many 30 seconds?
Oh, very small.
30 seconds or something. I
Right.
think is like the kind of thin one, and then there's a little bit heftier one that might be an eighth, or it's called double strength glass, I think, and that's probably what I would use if I were just replacing a pane of glass that wasn't a special wavy glass or something. So some of these windows are old enough that they have kind of the wavy textured glass. So, ideally, if you can find that kind of glass, they don't really make it anymore. But a lot of people throw nice old windows away, so you might be able to salvage large enough pieces that you could cut down. But I think that wavy glass is a bit trickier to cut. Your standard glass scoring, like diamond cutting scoring tool, may not work as well. So maybe consult with your professional at the hardware store or the window.
I always get it cut for me. I don't do my own glass cutting. So
It
and
looks
that's-
easy in videos where
Right.
people know what they're doing, but
So this, we have no idea when this was made or when the putty was put in, but this comes out pretty easy once it gets a little bit of warmth to it. And this, obviously has been here for a while.
yeah, if you have a second person, maybe you can have one a little bit ahead of you with the heat gun, because trying to do both things in going back and forth can be tricky. A lot of setting down the heat gun, and you have to be mindful when you set the heat gun down that you're not going to start a fire somewhere.
And that's another nice thing about this heat gun is it just rests.
It has
you can
its
rest it.
own little stand there. You want to keep going on this?
A little bit
up to
more.
you.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff comes off really easy, and some of it you really have to fight. So again, just try not to press down on the glass too much, because it's pretty easy to crack the glass. The glass is only being held in to the frame by a handful of little metal. They're called glazing
points. Yep.
And so the pressure is only in a few spots.
Yeah. So that was just what I was going to bring up. So you're going to, as you're scraping the glass and scraping the glazing off, you're going to start running up against glazing points. And they're the metal pieces, and maybe we can pass a few of them around. And
This is one style. There's multiples. There's diamond-shaped ones, and there's triangular ones. I think the ones that we're going to take out of this other window are triangular in shape.
so you're going to come up against something hard. And so you don't want to be start putting in more pressure because you're hitting something hard. You want to see if that's the glazing point that you're coming up against.
They're going to be near the corners and maybe about every 10 to 12 inches, maybe. I don't.
Yeah. So typically a window like this might have three across the bottom and 3 on the side, or maybe just 2 on the side. But definitely in the corners is where they'll be, coming out a couple inches, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches. So there should be a glazing point. So,
And we've seen some faces that don't seem to have any. So I think the top or the bottom that didn't have any on one of them.
right. So this is a different window. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And I'll set that over here. And we're going to make some loud noise because we're going to run the vacuum real quick and vacuum this up. If you want to grab that right behind you.
Ready?
Yep.
They even make a special scraping tool that you can put the nozzle of your vacuum into, and it will pull that stuff as you're scraping it.
Right. So we're going to swap this one out. I'll show you guys this one. This is where we're going to take the glass out. And so this has all the glazing removed. Yep. Yeah, so these ones are kind of different. Let me see if I can pull one out real quick. This one I've already removed. But you can see that's different from the ones that Tiana will show you, because those are just triangles. And the other ones were triangular, but they had a little spot for you to push the points in with. So this is all the glazing removed. There's still some glazing on the edges where you can't scrape it out. And then that's the glazing point. And all it does is, like, you can see it here and here. And it's just holding the window in place so it doesn't rattle. So
If you find that someone in the past has used silicone caulk or something like that for the glazing, do you have any hints for removing that?
Well, most all caulkings and sealant have some sort of a what is that term I'm using? Something that will break it down to clean it up. And so silicone using denatured alcohol and a lot of it will help remove the silicone. And so as long as if you had your denatured alcohol on a rag, got it wet, you could use I imagine you guys have one of those little slidey like scraping knives that has the razor blade in it.
Oh,
Yeah, something like this. I'm not sure that just a razor scraper. So as long as it's wet and you're running this on the glass, you won't actually scratch the glass. You got to keep it moist. But you could use that to get it off of the glass, and then more denatured alcohol and putty knives to take it off of the frame.
what some of the professionals do that do this all day long, they have special steam tables that they've built. And so you put the whole unit into a steam thing and it steams it for, I don't know how long, 15 minutes or something,
yeah.
maybe less. And that steam, it doesn't harm the wood, but it will break a lot of that stuff. It softens the putties and the whatever gunk is on there and the paint too. And so it's easier to deal with.
So so now we've got the glazing removed. This window, do you want to grab that multi-pane window there real quick? So this one, really, there's only glazing on the three sides, right? Just the sides and the bottom. The top of the sash here doesn't have, there might be a little bit of glazing up here, but it's not like it is down here. The rabbit and the frame of the sash are different. Where on these have glazing all the way around. So this one, we're just taking it off on the three sides. Just got to, recognize what kind of window you've got. So this would be taking it out all four sides like it is here before you put the glass in. So this one might be, I'm not sure. We haven't actually pulled out glass on one of these yet.
I did it was a different
Okay.
style window.
All right.
And if you take these, if you take these panes out, you might be a good thing to number them. They should all be the same size, but they might not be. So putting it back together, you may have a particular
Right.
arrangement.
Yeah. So masking tape and a marker, very handy to have for marking things. So
Or a grease pencil or something might be able
Yep.
to write on there.
do you want to we're going to take the points out.
You can probably feel them with your finger if you can't necessarily see them.
And with these triangular ones, you can just either put the putty knife, against the sash frame, or this is actually called a rabbet, is the term for the way the wood shaped for the glass to go in.
It's spelled RABBET though, not
Right.
IT.
And so just loosening them up.
You might have
Wanna
to
try
kind of
pass them.
work them back
Okay.
and forth. Yeah, these come out so much easier than the
So let me switch places. with
diamond
you.
ones. There's a triangle.
So you could use this or this, and here's one here, here's one there, and if you, yeah, get it right, but if you get alongside of it like this, and you can sometimes just twist, but not catch the glass. Yeah.
I had some that were.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Take your time. I had some that were little tiny diamond ones, and I spent probably at least 15 minutes per
Yeah.
thing trying to get those out because they
Tiny
could not be. There's so much danger of breaking the glass, and you're trying not to force it too hard. But you couldn't get
Did you get it? All right.
you couldn't get an angle on it. So here's one here. This is what they.
That's right. This is like the admission, right? Okay.
It should be kind of visible. That's
All
what
right,
it
so
looks
there's
like.
one.
There's one here,
Yeah. There's one there and one there. Yeah.
but you maybe just kind of push from the side and like rock it back and forth a little bit because the
I-
pointy piece is in.
And I'm more of a put it down from the top and just get it started, and then
So that you're using the frame as
the leverage point. Yeah. Yeah. Lever. Or is that?
The window restoration Bible book that I've got over here, he also recommends maybe a sharp chisel even sometimes to kind of bite into it a little bit and wedge it off of the
Oh, okay.
from the frame maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to kind of experiment with your.
On the side of it. And then you can work it from each side to see, kind of loosen it.
Yeah, these triangle ones are kind of neat. The ones we have to
Yeah.
replace.
Do it. Yeah, and you can see how the more modern ones like this, they have that little bit there.
They've got
and
something you can push against, so you can
Yeah.
you can put this here, and the point goes in, and then you just take it, any kind of a putty knife or something, and you press against that raised edge, and then it's pretty easy to get it out or get it in. Actually, this tool is made for that too, so you can, like this, and then you. Is that how it works? Yeah, I think it goes like that.
So then those little raised points do a lot of
They're
Yeah.
what hold it into the frame, and the putty is sort of putty is more for water shedding, and it also does an air sealing, but
Yep.
the bulk of the holding is probably done from the.
Try with this is, let me see if I can see. So this one, a little more of take a little bit of that putty off. This one is in pretty good.
I know we're not to that part yet. It seems like these would be really tricky to install.
I wonder how they installed these triangular ones, yeah, or the diamond ones that they might have had a special tool that is like you load it in there and then boom, you instead of doing it by hand, because you could. I don't know, do we have one of the little triangle ones here? I just had one a minute ago. Maybe you could push it with a
Sorry.
tool, but I don't. Yeah, there's not much thickness to it,
No.
so there's not much to bite onto.
This one is in
Right.
with a vengeance. Yeah.
It seems like it's a lot of.
Yeah, I don't know, but
The
these.
way you know they're in there, the glaze points
And
are-
you want to be careful not to, right?
Hmm.
So we're getting it.
Now, if you think you've got them all out, then you got to kind of gently come from the back
So
and
then you-
see if it's
you wanna
binding
finish.
anywhere, because the glass is a little
Sorry.
bit flexible actually,
yeah.
but you don't want to force it because then you
Yeah.
could shatter the whole pane. And then and even if you think you've scraped out all the stuff, there may still be some that's kind of binding it in there that you don't know until you try to get the glass out.
So, and the one thing we didn't show was we took, after we scraped it off the putty, we went and we used that hide tool there. That one. All right.
Good deal.
Yeah. And then went along and scraped this edge. So that's why we're down to the raw wood here. It's like scrape that out. But you can see, the window, the glass itself is smaller than the opening, right? It needs to be smaller. So one, you can set it in there without breaking it. And two, give a little expansion and contraction for the window itself. Because if it was super tight, if the window moved, like expanded during the summertime when
These are the
when
newer style ones,
uh,
and you just push those in.
swell up, it could crack
with
the
a tool.
glass, right?
So that little,
So there's still,
so it would go, the point would go toward it, and then you just use a tool like this,
Yep.
and just push on it.
it
and
should,
it'll push
in
in and
theory,
lock it in,
yes,
then that glazing will
It
cover
should
over
should fit.
those legs that are
But
sticking out.
so we've got this window out, or we've got all the points out,
Yeah,
but there's
that's so you've got
there's
something.
still a little bit of glazing between the
Mhm.
window and the frame itself, kind of in there, right? So this is the fun part. I think we've taken and cut this.
And why don't you put more on the top? Because it's not needed. Because
Well, it's the way this is built, right? So these are, usually it is 4 sides, but to me it looks like this almost sits in there. So now we're going to just kind of work that. And if you want to lift up and work that corner, right?
But you want to kind of support the glass because you don't press it because it could be
Yeah.
maybe
So
there's one that we haven't found yet.
Right.
But
Just
just
kind of see how it gets loose. So the
Oh,
bottom
there's-
looks good.
is there one there?
Yeah.
Or is that just the place where one was? That there's a little bit of caulking or holding it.
So this is, I think, a spot where it's the glazing is in there, packed in between the glass and the rabbit.
So, Sam, would you try to get this side last then, since it doesn't have much? Would you try to
yeah,
get the other
I'm
sides
hoping
up?
to,
And
to kind of like lift this up and then pull it out.
okay.
So
So do you think having
These
the
are-
window up at an angle?
the glass itself,
Mhm.
and we'll just put our hands underneath this,
Oops.
right? And just want to make sure it's loose. Now, are you loose?
I don't know about this corner down here. Corners give me a little trouble. Yeah, maybe that knife. Thank you. But yeah, this old putty can be really difficult. It's kind of gunked.
And
And
it can get fairly hard too. I can remember 'em-
I mean, if you start to get it from your side,
So I guess, if we were working by ourselves or something,
You need 6 people.
right. You could put like a wood block down and set that so that the like a 2x4 and would push the glass up on this side.
watch Jessica's fingers here. I'm kind of carving into the wood by an accident, but that's okay. It's all going to get
Yeah. Do you want to
painted.
drop the window? Do you want to drop this down again?
Well,
To
I think it's that corner that's kind of binding.
Okay, so let's let's stick this up. Let's see if we're cut here.
Oh, good question.
Now, PJ did have some windows. Well, actually, the window that we're going to set the glass in is different from this because it's all prepped. But it did have some like wood dowels
Hmm.
for here, and I wonder if that was made.
I think I see a couple in this here and here.
Yeah,
So what are the dowels there for?
I'm wondering. Is the hopefully it's not the sash is supposed to come apart to get this one apart.
Oh, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either.
Are the dowels just to add strength to those corners?
So yeah.
Sorry for the fingernails on a chalkboard sound.
You're sure there's no points on that bottom section?
I haven't seen any.
Probably would be a good idea to have some lightweight gloves or something, you know, because the edges of the glass can be real sharp.
So
You wanna-
I've
You want to work on this side, Sam, and I'll.
so I've it looks like we've pulled it enough somehow to that we're actually it doesn't fall back in anymore.
Oh,
So it has
Right.
moved a little.
Yeah.
I can pull it back my way.
So would it be helpful if we held the sides and you hold the glass?
Are you moving on your end?
Which way are
So
you?
everybody lay their hands on this. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
We've got this.
Right. So there's been a little bit of movement, but
Hang on, I need to build a steam table
right.
because I've got a bunch of these to do.
Would it help to heat that up with the heat gun?
Maybe we should do that.
And you think you got the backside pretty well? Looks like it's
I could hit it
broken
again.
free.
So this, I'm pretty sure, is just there's a groove for the glass to sit in. There's not, a place to put the glazing in for it. So
Well, do you want to, so we don't burn through our whole hour with this, do you want to skip ahead and,
let's just give this about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
And if we don't get it, we'll just say we got it.
Okay.
All right. Through the power of video. So when we were holding that up again, like this.
Mhm.
And so
How
I'm
could we
just,
help?
I'm just laying, you guys can just make sure we don't lift this up. I'm pulling here, right? Because I can get my thumb under there
We have a first aid kit if you need
are
it.
you kind of pulling
Okay.
up?
and just kind of wiggling. Yeah.
Is the heat gun plugged in? Do you still have it?
Yeah, we can get it. You got that?
Wait, maybe, let's see, did we just do something there?
Did something move?
I felt like possibly.
Yeah.
Could they have bedded done a little bit of the glazing down in that groove to bed it in?
Possibly. And that seems like a good idea, right?
In theory, yeah.
Right?
So I think that is considered the best practice is to bed it in a little bit of, so you have it on both sides of the glass.
So you think your side might have moved a little bit?
I think so.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a reach here.
All right. Let me get my thumb there. You got that?
Are we pulling up?
Yep.
I'm not wiggling, I'm just pulling.
She's in fans. They're the fans.
So, all right. Well, let's lay this down.
I say I mean, it'd be satisfying to get it out, but it'd also be a bummer to break the thing.
Right.
We can come back to it.
So we obviously,
That's cool.
it has moved a little bit. And so this is, a little different of a beast.
And if you have a bunch of old windows in your house, they may have been done by different people at different times or different manufacturers originally. So it might be a little bit different animal with every single sash. Like in this house, we've got several different window styles that are all from the same period. With it,
All the windows in my house are exactly the same size.
Yeah.
that's nice.
Okay.
So I'm guessing there's all that.
So we're going to say we got this out.
Okay.
And maybe we can post a picture later.
We could say we're going to finish this after we go off.
Yeah.
Offline.
Okay. So let's just set that over here.
Do you think we can? Well, it seems a bit precarious.
Do you want to slide that back?
It might. I don't know if it'll slide back in or not, though.
Okay.
You got that?
Grab that. Yeah. Okay. And boom, there we go. Finish that
So tell us what happened here, Sam,
with.
with that sash that we just pulled out.
So this sash.
Yeah. So that was the paint was all stripped off by heat gun, scraping, sanding, whatever, and
this-
then it was bare wood.
Right. So this sash looked like this sash at one time. Okay. And so this is gray because it's gray primer on here. And so-
Oil-based primer in this case.
Yeah, and this is oil-based primer, and oil-based works great as a primer. It's a little more expensive and takes longer to dry, but for the glazing that we're using, it's you want this, the rabbit that we were talking about, what we just removed the glazing from. That needs to be primed prior to the glazing going on. You need to have paint on there or some sort of sealant.
At the very least, some linseed oil or something. so that
Linseed
the
oil
wood-
would work too. Yep.
If
So
the wood
that-
is dry, it'll draw the oil out of the paint
too fast and too out of the
glazing.
glazing. Yep. So that's been stripped down.
I'm just going to
Got
see
windows
if this
everywhere.
still fits in here. That'd be funny if it didn't.
Is that the original glass out of there?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys could see that, but this is the wavy glass. So and you can't really get that anymore. And you can see that in some of these other panes that are this older glass.
Okay, it still does fit. That's good.
Did you say wavy glass?
Wavy. Yeah, if you look through it, it's like has a little bit of a texture to
In
it.
some areas, at certain angles, you can kind of see it.
And that was like used to be standard for.
Just the way it was
window glass.
manufactured.
Yep.
It wasn't an aesthetic choice so much as just the glass manufacturing back then was a different process. So it's not tight in there, but it's a bit tight.
Bit
So
snug.
I'll
You want to sand it off?
sand the
I'm
glass.
joking.
No.
Sorry.
There's a little bit of a thickness to the primer. I
I
did
got
scrape
this.
away and sand away a little bit of the wood too, but I did primer it.
So you can see that on the bottom. This is the bottom sash for the double hung window, and so the bottom is not finished. You leave that bare, and you want to leave the sides bare. PJ got a little bit of paint on there.
A little
And-
overzealous with the primer.
Right. So, and that's because this is sliding along the frame, and so the paint's just going to gunk up and cause the window to not slide smoothly.
Now,
So-
Sam told me that after you are done with your paint job, you could put like a beeswax or some kind of a oil
Yep.
type product in there to lubricate it a little bit and give the wood a little protection.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely a wax. I like beeswax, but there are different waxes out there that you can use. And having it with an oil that would help it penetrate in there will help help with the longevity of the wood so that the wax and the oil penetrate a little bit deeper. Especially these parts, this is what's called a tenon. The way this window is put together is this long piece goes in here and locks. That's ingrained, and end grain is real susceptible to absorbing water and moisture, and then it expands, and that's a spot that can rot eventually, so, or start to break down. Okay, so we're going to bed this. We're going to put the glass in some glazing, put a little bit of glazing compound on the rabbet first, set the glass down into that so it seals the outside, which these windows are not. It's more of a better way to seal it so it's sealed on both sides of the glass, and then we'll start
set this maybe somewhere so I
start
don't-
putting some of the compound down, or the glazing on this side, and hopefully we can get everybody. You got a question?
I'm wondering if you have to replace the glass, like if you have to buy a new pane, how close to the size of the opening should it be? Like, do you want to leave a little bit of space, or do you want to have it tight? Measuring.
So measure it tight, right? If you can, just take the sash, the sash unit down to whoever's going to cut the glass for you, so they have it on site and they can drop it in to make sure that it fits.
I think it's supposed to be, what is it, a 16th on every edge
Yep.
at least, so,
So-
it'd be an eighth.
An eighth-
Right.
an
So if
eighth
you're
smaller than the opening.
exactly, so I was getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
DJ just rushed you. That's
All right, it's all right. But yeah, so there's a bit of movement available for that. All right. So here's our glazing, and it's a little messy. You can use gloves. I don't know if you want to use gloves. And so I like to. So this is like, has not been messed with before. So take it out and you want to work it a little bit. Oh, I'm not going to use gloves. That's right.
But getting it warm in your hand will help with the pliability and the
Yep.
workability of it. And it's pretty warm temperature, ambient temperature right now, but I think having it closer to your body temperature will be better.
So
And should we maybe just do a light vacuum or sweep of that table, just so we're
Probably.
not getting a bunch of gunk?
And PJ was talking about putting something down. So this is kind of finished, right? And sometimes the windows are mostly finished at this stage. So putting, this wouldn't be a bad time to put down something to protect it if the surface you're working on was a little rough. So that wood handled putty knife.
Oh, you're,
That's the one.
oh, okay.
So I'm gonna invite everybody to get in here and see.
Maybe it has a lot of air mixed in the way it comes from the factory.
It does.
But there's different schools. If you watch videos of this on YouTube, some people will roll it into a little sausage in their fingers and then put that in the groove. And some people will just kind of smush it in there with their thumb, or take a glob of it in their hand and kind of work it off the knife. But we don't need a very big bead of it for this.
You should take some. This is gonna take a minute.
And when you say the rabbit, is that this is the
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Maybe I've got more. Whoa. So a lot of this is going to glob through once we press the glass in, and it'll just be kind of a waste. But that's okay. It's just
Well, we'll scrape it off and put it back into the container. Right.
as long as it's not really dirty and
Right.
contaminated by the.
So
Is it? Looks like it's not sticking super well into there because of the smoothness of the primed surface, but I think it'll work. And this is my first time working with this particular putty. I've just worked with the DAP 33, which is the common one. So this feels lighter to me and softer.
It is softer.
But I think it'll make it, the important part of this is when you scrape it off with a knife, like tooling it with the, this kind of a tool or whatever tool you're using, that kind of a tool, and you're going to drag it at a 45-degree angle. And I think this work is more workable than the DAP type product. It's stretching itself really thin as you roll it.
How are we doing for time, Jason?
We have about 9 more minutes.
Okay.
Oh boy.
That started a little bit late. But we can also go over and just not broadcast.
Okay.
You're doing it with the knife? Yeah, that might work better actually.
Should be working really well.
This is pretty sloppy.
It's-
I'm a little-
Well, you can come back and do that here with the knife, right?
Because you really only need a very small amount for this step of it. And this is actually sort of optional. Some people I think don't bed it into a,
This is the first time I've done the bedding in. I just like the sound of it. Like, oh, that made so much more sense when we started talking about it. So, because that's the older windows. The more you can do to make them less drafty and last longer,
and
the
probably
better.
quieter too, I would think.
Yeah.
If the glass is not going to rattle as much in the, that's what happens is that these old windows, the glass separates from the frame and it rattles when the trucks drive by or something. So this part is kind of not as important, but once we actually do the real glazing work, then everybody should try that because that's pretty fun and cool. And if you get a good groove going, it's pretty gratifying.
So if there's a window that has a draft, is it most likely due to the
Could be the glass in the window. Could be different points of air coming around the where the sash sits in the frame. So
This side.
I'll look at you go. You got it now. I'm just gonna let you finish. So PJ's using that knife. I don't know if you can see it. It's got a slight bend in it, so it's good for
So I keep
kind
peeling
of
off your
pressing
stuff. that you
things
do.
in.
Okay.
There's another one over there. I think it's over there. Yeah. So it's bent, and then it's got a little like 45-degree. It's very stiff too, and then it's got this 45-degree, and we'll show you how that goes. That's for once the glass is in. But yeah.
Okay. So now
Good.
this is an oily product. You're going to get oil all over your glass. So we're going to show a product later for getting that off.
You grabbing the glass?
Yep.
Okay.
Right, so this is facing the outside.
This is the exterior. Yep.
Because the other side is facing inside the house. That's why you don't need as much
Right.
of the glazing.
Yep.
But you just need it to set it.
To bed it in. Yep.
So it looks like
exactly.
we've got pretty good coverage everywhere. Going to try to kind of center this. Because once you lay it down, it's probably going to be hard to wiggle it too much. And hopefully this doesn't just fit in here one way, not the other. I will reverse it if it's, maybe we'll try that.
Yeah,
Because it's a
center around.
bit tight. And I don't know if inside or outside matters, but yeah, it could be that the glass has a slight taper to its shape. Now it did fit in there dry a minute ago.
Originally this and then that one.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to fix this?
Oh,
Grab that.
is that possible? Oh, maybe this way.
Maybe that way. Yep.
So right now I did clean this glass before I brought it over, but now I've got it all oiled up. There we go. It sank down. So we'll just kind of gently press around the edge to see that it's making contact, because what's going to happen, and see if maybe we can, there's a little bit of a gap here. I can't tell if there's a gap there or not, but we can try to maybe
Yeah.
center it a little bit. It's probably a little bit askew.
Now when he said pressing around the edges, that's real important, because you only want to put pressure on the edges. You press in the middle, you can press through it and break it. So
Can't tell if that moved your way or not. There's probably a lot of tension, or not tension, what's the word? Resistance to moving, because it's this goopy material.
there is, I've got a gap all the way along here. There's a gap there.
Is there? Because I'm pretty tight here, but
Oh, yeah.
it probably, as long as it's sitting in there and we're not seeing daylight anywhere.
Do we square the window?
I think
Okay.
I did check the measurements
Oh, did you?
before I
Okay.
glued it up. Yeah, I'd like to shift this a little bit, but I think we're just going to have to call it good, because I don't want to lift it out again.
And I think it's the diagonal. This is a little tighter here.
It's tight here, and then we're loose here and maybe here. So
Yeah.
ideally we'd do that, but I think it'll probably work the way it is.
So, and you're pressed in.
Oh, I did.
Kind of see that it's pressing up against there, right?
Does it matter if it's bouncing?
It is bouncing a little bit. Yeah. I think the glazing is going to help in the points.
Once we get the points in, that'll,
As we,
Yep.
We don't want to put like mega pressure on here and
No.
put the points in, because that, there could be that this glass was sitting in this frame a certain way, and maybe I don't have it oriented in the same way. So we got to be a little careful.
I'm not, yeah, I'm with you.
So this part here seems like can be pressed down,
Okay.
a little bit. So Sam, you want to lead us here?
We'll do this one. So, and I don't know if these will work up here because of the narrow,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, we can always change the profile of our glazing, but yeah, I see what
Yep.
you mean.
So we're going to set, we were talking about how the point should be like 2 to 4 inches from the corner. So we're going to basically on this set one. These are a couple inches out there, 2 corners, and then one in the center here. And then you can be more scientific and actually measure, but we're just going to eyeball here. If PJ's okay with that, because he's the,
Yep.
all right. So just kind of lightly pressing down.
And should you go around the perimeter, you think, or should you work opposite corners? What's the theory? Is there a theory?
I usually like to do the lower section first, and then I'll
Mhm.
pick one side and go up the sides and then go across the top.
Okay.
So.
And they
And
do
so
make
this
special
is-
tools for I don't know about these particular
Yeah.
points. Oh no, I've got this thing here.
Right. So this is standard, is to just take a putty knife, hold this down, and you push in,
And it goes into.
and it goes into the wood itself. Yeah. And so,
Are we trying to make sure we're not putting in the same hole that it's been previously? or-
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Hopefully, yeah. It's not.
We're not really checking
That would
that.
happen, but
But you would feel it if you were.
if it would go, yeah.
And if it was too loose, we could just move over a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
Fresh spot.
Actually, I like the way this feels better than the way this thing feels. This is supposed to be made for this, but I don't know. To me, this felt just a solid.
Do you guys want to try putting some points in? Okay, let's get to the point then.
Get to the point.
Just let's
So-
hold off on this bottom edge just for the moment, because that
Yeah.
seems a little.
So So you can just line it up, yeah, basically where it's at. So gently hold the window and next to it, yeah. But don't push too hard, and then just make sure you got your body behind you.
You should go all the way over, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll make sure it'll get in. We've got enough of us here.
Let me go. Oh, that was
Nice work.
Yeah.
I'll hold you here.
If you have a smaller window pane,
Yep.
I'm guessing you use fewer points.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well,
like
you
this-
still need 4
You still need
basic.
4,
Yeah,
okay.
at a minimum.
So if you have one of these small lights here,
uh-huh.
It is.
Nice.
You just feel like you do what you do. Like
That's
more
it,
sure,
one,
yeah, yeah. People are confident.
so Sam, on these small lights, you would just kind of do one in each center?
Yep.
Okay.
Or I've seen people just do 2 on the sides, one's in the center.
Just
Got it right and wrong way.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a professional way, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
You're the professional, so
Yeah. I would probably do 2 top and bottom and 1 on the side, but a minimum of 4.
Like, wouldn't you use your own judgment too, based on like how the glass is moving?
Exactly.
and-
and just straight pressure. Try not to go down too much with the pressure because you could crack the glass that way. Nice.
So I wonder if we could modify these a little bit. You can see if you look. at
Maybe they
this,
work either
BJ.
way.
Well, see if this went in, that the little metal is going to stick out farther than the wood on the other side, right? So if this was in where it goes, it's the tails on that are longer this way.
Well, maybe that's why this tool is shaped in such a way you can kind of do either or.
you need the diamond. You need a little diamond.
So Sam, you're saying put it like this, possibly.
No, I'm saying we cut it.
Oh, cut it with like a pair of snips.
And make this the bit
Oh,
that's holding
yeah,
the
yeah,
glass on the outside smaller.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
I don't have that kind of tool with me.
Is that in the?
I
Sorry.
don't know if it's in there.
All right. Well, so what we can do is we can just do the glazing here on the sides and then put that one in a minute. So,
Okay.
all right.
I'm gonna start loading the glazing
Okay.
on, and then other people can try loading it in too. I think you already rolled this around your
Yep.
hand,
Yep.
so you
Oh,
can.
perfect.
So you don't. do
Sorry.
the-
Sorry.
This kid means that.
Sorry. She's.
You don't do the little snake thing for this.
I
You
think
could.
there's no wrong way. You could do the snake thing. The important thing is just to make sure you're putting force to pack it into that
Yeah.
groove, so that you've got full contact with pressure behind it. Yeah, you could definitely snake. I've done the snake technique on that, and you just don't want to put so much on there that you're taking 80% of it back off. I mean, I'm kind of putting a lot on right now, but
Yeah.
This is
Remember
a
all
much
you.
different consistency than what I've seen with the 33 blade.
yeah, it is softer.
That's what I've used, and I've always made it into a snake first. But doesn't handle it.
So I'm just kind of doing a superficial press in, and then once maybe I think I've got enough, but what we're aiming to do is make a 45-degree angle line from the top of the face of this to wherever that is on the glass. And so you've got to kind of get your knife in at an angle and pull, and kind of keep the knife riding on the same part of the knife on the same part of the edge. Let me see, Jessica, if I can get I haven't done this, and kind of get in there and see how this pulls. Well, that's a little tear out there.
It's all right. You can fix it.
Now
You're
that
doing great, PJ.
actually, that's. I guess this is not handling better than the 33 because it feels like it's kind of sticky. See, it should be a nice smooth line there, but it's pulling a little bit. I think they call this tooling.
Your tooling.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, it's dragging it. Then what you'll do is you'll take this stuff. Usually it makes a pretty clean break, and you kind of just take that off. But it's not a neat edge as it looks right now. So maybe it's my tool. Maybe it's operator error here.
So the other thing you're looking for, so you're going kind of wide. Go ahead and pull that in. Finish pulling that.
You think I'm going too far into the window?
We're going to take a look and see.
Yeah,
This-
I'm not real pleased with that line there.
So we cleaned and scraped the windows, but we're going to practice our tooling on Saturday, but we didn't get to it. So, but you can, if you look on the back side, your glazing should line up with this edge of the
Oh, I see.
rabbet there,
Yeah, so I'm
right?
wide.
So this is a little wider there.
Now let's let Sam try
Oh.
that same
I'm going to do this cheat tool.
this thing.
Yeah. So this is kind of what this is made for, is to get in here.
Oh, you go that way with it. Okay.
And pull.
Does that work for caulk too? That tool?
Not as well. The caulking tools, and so I didn't get a clean break on that.
I'm going to blame the putty. Now we could roll out some DAP and do a side with DAP and see how if they perform differently.
Did you bring some?
Well, Jason's got some here.
Okay.
I did bring some too. Jason's looks old. I don't know how if his is older or newer than mine. Mine's in a plastic container.
Yeah, that's been here a while, and I think
I'm gonna sneak behind you,
last
Sam.
time we did this that we weren't going to read because it was all dried out.
But I think it might be good to see the difference, if any. Because I thought this was going to go just smooth sailing here with this new putty.
Yeah. So it is dragging.
Seems like it's too dry.
I think you can add linseed oil or something
Mhm.
to the putty.
Are we still broadcasting?
We
Jason?
are.
Oh, awesome.
Are you ready to go off air?
Well, I
I got this open, Jason. If I don't know if yours looks different. Yours looks yellower and more disintegrated.
Yeah, mine smells more rancid than yours does.
Yeah, mine's like plasticky Play-Doh. All right, I'm going to roll up a little
Tastes rancid too.
batch of this. I don't see any oil separation in mine. But I think these are kind of linseed oil based, so I think you can add a little linseed oil to taste, you know. To make it a better texture if it's not tooling the way you want it to tool. And I think other things can affect that, you know, the ambient temperature. If you're doing it outdoors or something, you wouldn't want to do it in real cold weather.
Yeah, this is definitely a warm weather kind of a thing. You can do it in the cold weather. The thing about the glazing, it's going to take, depending on which one you use, it's going to take anywhere from a week to 3 weeks to set up till it's ready to be painted.
This DAP takes quite a while.
Yeah, I think this one is. It doesn't say. You can see how tacky it is, right?
So you got to be really careful handling
So
these
that's
things.
why we test it. If it's tacky,
It
you don't
should
wanna paint
it should skin over in a couple days, and then and this particular stuff is made to be
I'm going
for
to come
the,
in here and
yep.
try this. Now
for
maybe
the glazing to set up inside, not for it be in place exterior.
I'm going
Right.
to turn this just
This
so it's
this particular
easier
brand.
Now we'll do a snake here, and let me. I'm going to borrow
Okay,
this.
that's the DAP.
This is DAP. Yeah.
Okay.
So
difficult.
It's expensive. It's supposed to be really good. I don't. Maybe we have to do more research about. Maybe we're doing something not optimally.
The DAP works. I think they're all about 2 or 1 in general. That's how I'm feeling right now. But we'll see.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Now my tool has really got dull edges too. They're really rounded over. So I don't know if that's making a difference in my tooling. But this feels thicker for sure.
I don't know if you want to feel that.
So I'm going to try my tool first and see how it pulls, and then I'm going to try Sam's, which is sharper because mine's got a rounded over edge.
Yeah, very soft.
Do I normally go this way or this way?
Mm-hmm.
This is the DAP.
That's the DAP. Yeah.
More like a Play-Doh.
See, I'm still getting a little tear out on the edge there, and I'm too wide on my.
Seems a little dry.
Seems somewhat smoother,
I'm too.
less dry.
I'm way wide on my angle here. But I'm going slower too, I think, which probably helps the tearing problem. I am going to redo that with a closer angle.
So if someone was doing a little here on the window that was still like
In place.
in place.
Yep.
And it took
Me-
2 weeks or so for the blades to kind of fit.
It depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or whatever time it took, if it was, would you cover it on the outside of the house, or like would you to keep it in the elements until it's time?
And I'm
Just-
kind of guiding I got my finger riding on this.
Do it when it's not raining or rain in the next 24 hours because it will skin up over the next in 24 hours. So then it could be exposed to rain or whatever. So yeah.
That was a cleaner break because this is a sharp tool with a sharp edge. So it's a better edge. I'm bleeding over on the top here. But I think maybe the tool having a sharp corner is better in this
Yeah, you
case
can see
because
how-
this is really rounded over and it's a thick tool too. If that makes a difference. This is a fairly thin. I've used this one before with DAP and it's worked okay. Now I think I might be a little uneven or a little wide. I can't really, it's hard to see.
So what are you looking at on the other side? Just how far it's sticking out?
So,
Yeah,
Like lining up with the
trying
rabbit.
to see,
This is the rabbit, right? So you're just making sure you don't look past that.
or not much past it anyway.
And that's just an aesthetic thing.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, well now maybe you're having the right tool because you were using this part of the tool, not
Yep.
this part of the tool. So let me try to, or do you want to try to re-pull?
You do it. No,
Did you mix the DAP in with this good stuff?
I did not.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
that's
sorry.
the DAP.
Oh,
there.
thanks. I almost stabbed you there.
That's all right.
Didn't mean to. So let me try to retool this and see if there's any difference with using this sharper thing.
I do have a question from something I was said earlier. So we have a window in our back door where husband, my kids in the house, and I was on town, we didn't have anywhere to get in, broke glass.
Yep.
So it's sitting there, and I'm like, okay, what is going to do about this? But it's a pain, like it has multiple sections. So it's one small section. If we took, or went somewhere to have a cut, like what place would we go to get a cut? I mean,
Gail. Yeah, I think Midtown Fresh, the Midtown Ace Hardware does it. Okay, Gales does it also.
So we're a little thin, I think, or maybe I have to come in my angles
Well,
too.
you
Still
would
too
just
deep,
measure what you
'cause I'm-
if you have.
I was running. I was not making
contact
contacts here on the edge.
Right?
It's kind of
Yeah.
ragged looking, like on the window face
Right.
itself.
So you'd need to measure
And there's
it,
like a certain direction, like
the-
you could,
the opening.
if you want to.
and then take
practice,
an 1/8
we can do
tell
this-
them what
this
that,
edge
that's
here.
the tight measurement.
Let me try this
and
good
then
stuff
have them
again.
cut the glass an 1/8
Or do you want to experiment? Which one do you want to try?
They have glass there.
Yep.
Okay, I know that's exactly.
They typically, yeah, that's something. Absolutely, yeah. Figure out, get a good putty knife and some of the glazing compound if that's what's holding it in. Absolutely. Now's the time of the year to do it too, because when it's warmer out, so.
I'm kind of DIY.
This is like way too much.
Mhm.
This stuff is so soft.
That's the,
This is the soft.
okay.
Very soft.
So somewhere riding around or was riding around were the glazing points that I cut.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, I cut some smaller ones.
Maybe they fall out.
Oh, here we go. These are cut. I don't know if you want me to put them in.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what the earlier one you can- that's- Let's call it just.
Good evening. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We're going to end the streaming of our live broadcast and give our participants that are in-house the opportunity to do more hands-on activities. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. I also wanted to invite you guys out to come and join us on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock in the evening. We have hands-on workshops that will teach you critical home repair. So I wanted to thank Mercantile Bank for being our sponsor this month. It's going to be hot this August, so I'm glad that they're going to be able to help us stay cool. And I look forward to seeing you guys all next Tuesday. Thank you.